Okay, joining us now is our race runner-up for tonight's Sprint Unlimited at Daytona, and that's Greg Biffle. He drove the number 16 3M Ford Fusion for Roush Fenway Racing. And Greg, talk about first time out there in your new Ford Fusion Gen 6 car as far as official competition. How did you think things went for you tonight?
Well, I mean, you know, things went pretty well. Today, obviously, we figured out when we were doing qualifying practice that maybe we're behind a little bit on speed to some of these other cars. You know, normally we're pretty near the front, and you know, we were in the, you know, around the 20s today on speed. So granted, that was a different car, but obviously that transferred into this car tonight. So we were just off a little bit on speed. We could not run with the 14, you know, 29 was pretty fast. So there was a group of cars that were faster than us, and so unfortunately when you get in that position, all you can do is stay in line because your car is real draggy and slow. But that being said, I had a great opportunity. I had a good run on the 29 on the top, and you know, I was pushing and shoving on him a little bit and had him loosened up, and I had room in the top, but he just closed the door there in the middle of the corner, first part of the corner, and it, you know, it didn't. I thought about sticking it in there, and it just didn't look like it was going to work to me. It looked like it was going to be sparks and parts flying. So he kind of shut the door on the top, and that's what, you know, Kevin needed to do to win the race. And when I looked in the mirror, I didn't have anybody behind me pushing me. I figured somebody give me a shove, and I might be able to try something else. But you know, we learn a little bit, and you know, we've got a ways to go in our 500 car to try and you know, try and be competitive on Sunday for the 500.
Okay, thank you, Greg. We'll take questions now. Raise your hand, state your name, affiliation. We'll go to Ed and then to Jenna.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. Greg, you just said Kevin did what he needed to do to win the race. On Tony, the block down there looked like more of a classic restrictor plate block. On you, it looked borderline slide job. But even that, in restrictor plate racing today, you sound like you consider the block he did on you to be legit and part of the game. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, really it is. Joey gave me a big shove. You know, I just tried to stay in line. I didn't chase Kevin downhill, and I got a huge run, and Kevin was just barely clear of me when he came back up in front of me. And when he came back up in front of me, I had a little momentum, so it sucked me up to his bumper, so I was pushing on him, getting in the corner, and I was pushing him about as hard as I think I could push him, and he could still drive it. And then I slid to the top on him, and you know, it was borderline whether there was enough room there, you know, and he was kind of moving up the block, and you know, you wish you had tried it. You know, you're kind of glad you didn't. I mean, obviously, if we're both wrecked and in a pile of parts over there, neither one of us get anything out of it. And I was about 99% sure that was what was going to happen, because once you're moving up in the corner, and then a guy sticks his nose right in there, the air pushes your car, the back of your car, the wrong way. And so he was going to go up against the fence. You know, there's just, you know, I've been there 100 times. There's just no way that move was going to work. And then I was still against his bumper, and I was going to try and move to the bottom, but there's just nobody behind me at that point. These cars get kind of separated pretty quick.
Let's go to Jenna and then to George and then to Tom.
Jennifer, AP. Greg, you keep talking about pushing, and it seemed like from scanning guys, not everybody's unanimous on whether or not it still works. I mean, does it work for you and maybe not everyone else? And then a second question, do you like the car?
Well, yeah, I mean, I like the car. I like the way it drives. The car drives well. You know, maybe we'll work on the aero package a little bit to try and get to where, you know, we can run the bottom, and the car stalls out really fast. So it's got a lot of drag, and the car stalls out fast. But you know, you can't push somebody unless somebody's, you know, shoved you up to the back of them, and then you can stay on them, and when you get to a certain speed, they just pull off of you, just like, you know, magically they just drive away off your front bumper. Like when your engine gets enough RPM, it can't really push anymore. The front guy then just pulls away from you, and you know, it happens on the restart, and it happens all the time. But if you got somebody behind you, that's the only way you can really kind of get up to the guy and give him a little shove.
Let's go to George, Tom, and then press box.
Greg, over here, back here. George Diaz, Orlando Sentinel. Given the dynamics, you know, the early crash, and then your experience, what's the takeaway going into the Daytona 500 with these cars and what to expect?
You know, it's somewhat like, I heard some guys talk about old school racing is somewhat like, you know, 04, 05. It's a little bit like that, but when the car would get kind of a run, you know, or you'd get sucked up there and you'd pull out, the car would continue to kind of accelerate before it died off with its momentum. And now it seems like the car, you know, you get a run and you pull out there, or you side draft a guy and you pull out there, and it's like you just put the brakes on. You know, the thing's got just a bunch of drag. So it's really hard to maneuver and get a run. But the thing about it is when you get 43 cars out there, that's going to be a ton different. It'll be a lot different. Then the bottom lane's going to work. Then there's going to be a middle. You know, a couple people probably aren't happy. I went up the middle a few times. Some guys tried it and made it work. But the middle actually worked okay for me. I got, you know, put in the middle one time. And, you know, I gained a few spots. But, I mean, with more cars out there, I think it'll be better. Yeah, I think so. I think, yeah, I mean, definitely the two-car tandem thing is completely gone, and then the bump drafting, you'll still get some bump drafting because when you have that bigger pack, you're going to get shoved up to the guy in front of you. So it's probably going to be, you know, that old school pack like that. Possibly. We'll have to wait and see.
Let's go to Tom Jensen over here, and then we'll go to the press box.
Hi, Greg. Tom Jensen, Speed.com. Do you think, therefore, with 43 cars on the track, or however many are running at the end of the 500, you'll see a slingshot pass at the end for the win, or is that done?
No, I think you will. You know, we were really learning about this car still, and when I was behind the 29 before that, the end of that the last segment, I tried a few runs at him. I would back up to the Joey Logano. He's probably wondering what was going on.
I knew what you were doing. I wasn't very fast either.
Yeah, so I would back up to Joey's bumper, and he'd, you know, the air would just shove me off. And I was just messing around, seeing if I could do anything. And, you know, it's going to take more than that. You know, it's going to take more than that to get that pass made. But I will say that the 20, the 14, and some other cars will be able to make that pass because the 20 can drive down there by himself. You know, there's just some cars that got more speed than others. You know, we're going to have to work on our cars to get them to where we can do that. I've been in this position before. Last few years, I've enjoyed being one of the fastest cars at restrictor plate racing, and now we're not quite the fastest. We got a little bit of work to do, but you know, can't be the fastest all the time.
Let's go press box. Go ahead. Questions for Greg Biffle.
Reed Spencer with the NASCAR Wire Service. In that respect, Greg, as far as Matt goes, it looked like you and he could have had some success if you'd been able to stay together in that last segment, but it looked like he could drive away from the cars that were behind him. Was that simply the fact that you couldn't get up to him?
Yeah, I mean, that whole last segment, I don't think I lifted on the throttle one time, but and never touched the brake pedal. I mean, that's as fast as my car would go. And yeah, he'd just drive away from the front bumper of me. He'd just drive off a couple car lengths. So I just couldn't. I was going as fast as I could go.
Anything else for Greg? Jenna? Excuse me.
Greg, is it weird with Matt out there not as your teammate?
Yeah, I mean, it is a little bit. It is weird when I look at that car and yeah, I'm completely confused because Joey's driving a yellow car too. So I'm trying to figure out whose yellow car is who, and they're both got twos on them. So, but yeah, it is different. But there again, you're going to go with the fastest car. It doesn't matter, you know, who it is. You're just going to try and run with whoever you can. And it seemed like the 43 was pretty fast. You know, he was sucked up on my rear bumper pretty good most of the time. So, you know, they may have some speed.